There's a story from North Carolina's history that says that a small county on their southern border was the first to create a Declaration of Independence from Britain over a year before the 1776 Declaration was signed. According to the story, after the local community, composed of many Scots-Irish immigrants, heard of the battle at Lexington, they convened in Charlotte, North Carolina in May of 1775. There they declared themselves totally free of Britain and took to fighting in the following years during the Revolutionary War. No copy of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence has been found, but some have been drafted from memory, famously in 1819, 4 decades later. The second resolution in the recreated document reads, quote, "Resolved that we the citizens of Mecklenburg County do hereby dissolve the political bands that have connected us to the mother country, and hereby absolve ourselves from all allegiance to the British Crown, and abjure all political connection, contract, or association with that nation, who have wantonly trampled our rights and liberties and inhumanly shed the innocent blood of American patriots at Lexington." In fact, I was visiting some sites in North Carolina when I learned this information accidentally. My plan was to see Revolutionary War battlefields across the South, but at the church where I went to see the grave of General Davidson, killed at the famous Battle of Cohen's Ford, I found many markers claiming they memorialized signers of a declaration I've never heard of before. I'll try to give some of their stories now. Richard Berry was a Scots-Irish immigrant who settled first in Pennsylvania but moved to Mecklenburg before the revolt. He acted as a magistrate of the court and was at the Battle of Cohen's Ford after signing the Declaration in 1781. In fact, he saw General Davidson killed and moved his body to a safe house, dressed it properly, and then brought it to the torchlit ceremony, burying it in the churchyard that night. After this event, many signers of the Declaration of Mecklenburg would be buried at the Hopwell Presbyterian Church alongside General Davidson. William Graham was an Irishman by birth and one of the first to promote a revolution in Mecklenburg County. He lived on a plantation owned by Miss Potts just south of Beatty's Ford on the road to Charlotte. Little is known of his wartime service. John Mcnitt Alexander was a principal secretary of the Mecklenburg Declaration. He was a tailor's apprentice, and when his contract expired, he moved here to become a major landowner. He was a member of the 1772 Provincial Assembly and a delegate to the Hillsborough Convention of 21 August 1775. William Bain Alexander commanded a regiment under General Rutherford that was in effect an expedition from Mecklenburg, Rowan, Lincoln, and other nearby counties. Cherokee Indians were killing Patriot settlers as proxies for the British, and the Alexanders were trying to stop it. 1 year before this, he had commanded a company under Colonel William Davidson's battalion under General Rutherford against the Tories at Ramsor's Mill. The Alexander family was very active in the Revolutionary War. John Davidson, an influential soldier appointed to the Provincial Conference, met Colonel Adam Alexander in Halifax on April 4, 1776. His daughter married William Bain Alexander, son of John Mcnitt Alexander, both signers of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. And this declaration itself came only weeks before the royal governor was forced to retreat in June of 1775. In the interim between his retreat and the American government showing up, the state government was ruled by a provincial council, and each county, including Mecklenburg, had a committee of safety that consisted of at least 20 men. They acted as courts until relieved of the duty by a duly elected governor. When the Declaration was published from memory in 1819, Thomas Jefferson was elderly and skeptical. However, John Adams came forward to argue that Jefferson used the document as source material because many of its lines are similar, such as, quote, "dissolve the political bands," and "absolve ourselves from all allegiance," and so on. This actually kicked off a weird and interesting feud between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Adams secretly resented the fact that Jefferson was given all the credit for the 1776 Declaration when in reality he just wrote it. In fact, Adams was the one who petitioned a reluctant Continental Congress to declare total independence, something which was very unpopular at the time. When the papers made the Mecklenburg affair public in 1819, he was secretly ecstatic to suggest that Jefferson might have copied it. However, Jefferson was able to convince John Adams that the Declaration of Mecklenburg was probably not a real thing, having been destroyed years earlier in a fire. However, North Carolina Senator Nathaniel Macon collected testimony from as many surviving signers as he could. He also got testimony from an 88-year-old Captain James Jack, who carried a copy to the Continental Congress in May of 1775, from which Jefferson might have plagiarized. Other folks around the county, now elderly, seem to remember there being read a declaration in the streets of Charlotte, although nobody seems to remember exactly what the wording of it was. And we can only hope that one day in the distant future, someone might come across a badly stained and old copy of this declaration tucked between the sheets of an ancient book in someone's attic. Until then, I think it's still pretty fun to think about.